On April 14, 1912, the Titanic sailed into the icy Atlantic night, overly confident, seemingly unsinkable, and equipped with the latest technology capable of helping avert the dreadful loss of nearly 1,500 lives. More than a century later, the tragedy of the Titanic still captivates us. There have been hundreds of books, dozens of films, countless documentaries, each revisiting the ship, the iceberg, the engineering flaws, the binoculars, or the heroism of those final hours. But this video isn't about what happened to the Titanic. It's about what the Titanic reveals about us. It's about the timeless lessons we can learn about our interactions with new technologies, and the need to keep focused on what's most important. The Titanic is a poignant illustration of how powerful new technologies, while full of promise, can undermine their own benefits when not handled with care. In this video, I'm going to share the historical account of the technology on board that could have saved the ship and all 2,208 passengers and crew. But instead of helping, this new technology at the time became a significant factor in the sinking of the Titanic. The following quote by Neil Postman is from his book Technopoly. "It is a mistake to suppose that any technological innovation has a one-sided effect. Every technology is both a burden and a blessing. Not either or, but this and that." The new technology on the Titanic was both a blessing and a burden, but it fell short of the potential blessing that Postman wrote about. The Titanic is a tale of the potential problems that come with the wonders of new technologies. So, what was this amazing new technology capable of saving the ship, and why? And how did it end up contributing to the loss of life? Those are the questions I'll answer. Believe it or not, the technology was the wireless telegraph. Now, before you roll your eyes and tune out, it's important to consider how seismic an impact this new invention had in history and its contribution to our new technologies today. It transformed the world as it was known, and for the rest of history. The predecessor, the wired telegraph, was as revolutionary to human civilization as the printing press 400 years before it. But how so? For the first time in human history, people could communicate simultaneously and instantaneously across long distances. Until the invention of the telegraph, it was not possible to communicate any information beyond earshot or eyesight simultaneously. Or, as Marshall McLuhan put it, it was not until the advent of the telegraph that messages could travel faster than a messenger. The closest competitor? A fast horse. Before the telegraph, if you wanted to send a message from New York to California, your best bet was the Pony Express. Riders on horseback, braving the frontier, racing from station to station, could get a message across the country in about 10 days. Then came the telegraph. It was on May 24th, 1844, that Samuel Morse sent a message from the old Supreme Court chamber in the Capitol, in Washington, to the old Mount Clair Depot in Baltimore. It's interesting that he chose a Bible verse from Numbers 23, verse 23, for the first demonstration. "What hath God wrought?" Which was an exclamation, not a question. He seemed to be giving God the honor for this new means of communication. In 1861, the first transcontinental line went live, and overnight, that 10-day journey by the Pony Express was reduced to a few minutes by the telegraph. For the first time in history, humans could communicate across the continent almost instantaneously. The world was on the brink of a paradigm shift that would impact the way we communicate, the way we would gather news, the way we would work, the way we would play. It would affect homes, businesses, governments, and even churches. It would impact how we relate to one another, but how? This shift marked the beginning of a communication revolution. The telegraph became the grandfather of technologies we now take for granted. Telephones, radio, television, the internet, even smartphones. It created a new era of disembodied, simultaneous interactions. It is the origin of virtuality. How could anyone deny the enormous advantage this could have in every area of life? And now, who would be willing to admit that with all the advantages have also come unique challenges and consequences? But before the telegraph could find its way into the story of the Titanic, it required another mind-blowing leap from interconnected cables to wireless technology. We have Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor, to thank for that. He successfully developed and demonstrated wireless telegraphy, sending Morse code signals through the air without wires. In 1896, Marconi filed his first patent for wireless telegraphy in the United Kingdom. In 1899, the first wireless distress signal was sent from a ship to shore using Marconi equipment. In 1901, Marconi transmitted the first transatlantic wireless signal from Cornwall, England to Newfoundland. And between 1904 and 1907, wireless telegraphs were becoming standard equipment on large passenger ships, especially ocean liners. By the time the Titanic sailed in 1912, wireless telegraphs were widely used in maritime communication, though operated privately by the Marconi Company and not fully integrated into ship command protocols. But how did this wireless telegraph contribute to the sinking of the Titanic? This new technology was incorporated on the White Star luxury liner as an amenity for wealthy passengers to send or receive telegrams. This amenity was provided through a partnership between the White Star Line and the Marconi Company. A modern equivalent would be like having Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile manage all the incoming and outgoing communications, whether between ships or for the passengers, because they owned and operated the equipment. Imagine being on a cruise ship today with only one cell phone for all the passengers to send or receive a text message. Not only would you have to wait your turn, but the message had to be typed out by someone else with only one key. In the 4.5 days until it struck the iceberg, the Titanic's radio operators employed by Marconi Company had sent and received 250 passenger telegrams. On the night of the disaster, Jack Phillips, the senior officer, was feverishly trying to catch up on passenger communications when the message came in from the SS Mesaba, warning of icebergs spotted at specific coordinates. The following is part of the transcript from wireless telegraph messages between the RMS Titanic and the SS Mesaba. 9:30 p.m., SS Mesaba to RMS Titanic and all eastbound ships. Ice report. Then he included some specific coordinates. Saw much heavy pack ice and great number of large icebergs, also field ice. Weather good, clear. 9:35 p.m., RMS Titanic to SS Mesaba. Received, thanks. 9:38 p.m., SS Mesaba to RMS Titanic. Stand by. Stand by meant that Stanley Adams on the SS Mesaba was waiting for the Titanic to indicate the message had been given to the captain. Jack Phillips did not respond, but continued to send passenger messages to Cape Race. Second Officer Charles Lightoller, one of only 4 officers who survived that night, wrote the following in his autobiography. The one vital report that came through, but which never reached the bridge, was from the Mesaba. Phillips, the wireless operator on watch, who received the message, was not to know the extreme urgency of the warning, or that we were at the time actually entering the area given by the Mesaba. He was very busy working wireless messages to and from Cape Race. Later, when standing with others on the upturned boat, Phillips explained when I said that I did not recollect any Mesaba report, I just put the message under a paperweight at my elbow, just until I squared up what I was doing before sending it to the bridge. Charles Lightoller concludes this narrative by saying, that delay proved fatal. Today's devices are powerful tools for productivity and communication, but if not used wisely, they can become masters that control us like puppets. Are you in control of these technologies, or are they controlling you? It's not a Titanic moment when a child tries to get the attention of a parent but is shooed away as an irritation and interruption of whatever is happening on screen, whether it's a smartphone, a computer, or a tablet. These seemingly insignificant life moments usually don't end in epic disasters, and let's hope they don't, to be recognized as problematic. For the telegraph operators on the Titanic, the priority was on passenger communications as a perk, an amenity, a convenience, if they could afford it. But that's not all. There's another example from the Titanic of not just human distraction, but a careless breakdown of communication. Did you know that the closest ship, the Californian, was easily in range to come and help rescue passengers from the Titanic? Did you know that the Californian also had a wireless operator? But when the Titanic began to sink, the Californian couldn't be reached. The operator had shut the system down for the night and went to bed. But before we pass judgment, listen to these exchanges that happened between the ships beforehand. 11 p.m., RMS Californian to RMS Titanic. Say, old man, we are stopped and surrounded by ice. Philip's response? 11:10 p.m., RMS Titanic to RMS Californian. Keep out. Shut up. Shut up. I'm busy. I'm working Cape Race. Evans, irritated, shut down the Californian's wireless for the night. Moments later, the Titanic struck the iceberg. The Californian, just 5 to 10 miles away, never heard the distress calls. And when the Titanic cried out for help, the ship that could have saved them remained in the dark about the unfolding nightmare. It's another sobering incident that warns us all of the need for civility and for prioritizing the keeping of meaningful channels of communication open so that they remain open when things go wrong and help is needed. The point I hope to make goes beyond this anecdote from the sinking of the Titanic. It's an illustration of the way technologies can affect our behaviors. Yes, it's not just a technology problem. The Titanic story points to a priority problem, a civility problem, and a problem from undue pressure and expectations brought about by the new technology. The wireless telegraph had the ability to send and receive warnings and distress calls, but the important messages didn't get through because they were crowded out by the more trivial communications. Communications in hindsight that were vastly less important than the ones that could have been part of saving the lives of 1,500 people. Mr. Marconi truly hoped his inventions would save lives, especially out at sea. But his inventions required operators, and the human element is more complicated than the technology. Our devices are not always the problem. It's how we use them. Again, the Titanic's wireless telegraph system was not owned or managed by the White Star Line. Instead, it was operated by the Marconi Company. Operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride were Marconi employees, not part of the ship's command structure. This explains why passenger messages took precedence and iceberg warnings weren't always delivered promptly to the bridge. The SS Mesaba's warning wasn't the only one ignored. The Titanic received at least 6 iceberg warnings from nearby ships on April 14, 1912. Some were acknowledged and passed to officers, but others, like the critical one from the Mesaba, were not. After the disaster, both the British Wreck Commissioner's Inquiry and the U.S. Senate Inquiry looked into the wireless communication breakdown. They concluded that although the Marconi system provided invaluable communication, it also contributed to undue commercial pressure and operator fatigue, which may have played a role in the disaster. While the ship may have gone down in 1912, the warning it offers is still relevant today. A missed message, a distracted operator, rude and careless communication that resulted in the inability to reach help when needed, a false sense of security. In an age of digital noise and constant notifications, are we ignoring our own iceberg warnings? If the Titanic's fate was sealed by a missed message, what important signals might we be missing today? Is it time to reevaluate what's truly urgent in your life? And what might be quietly sinking in the wake of your distractions? Proverbs 4 verse 6 says, "Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you." Wisdom doesn't happen by chance. We must pursue it. We must seek it. And I hope we can all grow in wisdom in this digital age and learn how to handle our devices better. Proverbs 16 verse 16 says, "How much better to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver."